Hey, buddy, welcome back. Devin UG, Original Grognard, sitting down here at the table taking a look at Gunslinger. I'm sorry, I still can't get over that I've got this back in my library. This is not going to be a gameplay episode. This is going to be an anatomy of Gunslinger. This is rather unique, especially for the time, in the exact mechanics of how the game plays. This is not your typical hex and counter war game. This is not X amount of movement points, attack factor, defense factor, range factor, combat results table, a la Jim Dunnigan style. I wish there was only really one other game that I can kind of quasi compare it to that came out. Well, a couple other games, but none of them I had. Gladiator from Avalon Hill, which was also kind of, I call it macro tactics, because you're dealing with the tactics and the playthrough of one individual. Gladiator was the same way. Again, a Gladiator, another game I wouldn't mind getting in my collection. I just never picked it up over the years. So I can't compare it to that. And I can't really compare it to like Sniper, which was SPI's man-to-man, Modern Warfare, World War II, whatever it was. I think at one point I did have their Bug Hunt version, the aliens inspired man versus xenomorph, but it was so long ago in the dim recesses of my past. I can't even begin to make a comparison. So what I wanted to do, so I didn't spend my entire time when I was playing the game describing how things work, I wanted to do a pre-video to basically kind of give an idea how the game is played before I actually sit down and playing it. And as I said in the last video, this can be a quick and brutal game. I broke out just a couple gunslingers. I think it was the Quiet Man and the Gambler, and it was over by turn 2. I mean, the Quiet Man just put a bullet straight through the heart of the of the Gambler, and it was over. One shot, dead. Boom. I'm your Huckleberry. So it's like, took me 10 minutes to play, maybe, without going through all the rules. Not even that, without going through all the rules. So it can be a very quick, brutal game. That's why I always try to want to try to have multiple characters in the game. Now, this one, I'm not doing any historical scenarios, because as great as this is as a small footprint, I mean, this is one map board, and as you can see, we've got 4 characters on the map board. It makes for a good size. Avalon Hill, so many times, like so many of their games at that time period, everything had to be big. All right, we're going to make one scenario that's 8 map boards big, but have 6 people on it. Really? You want 8 of these map boards, but only 6 people. All right, whatever. They tended to make scenarios a lot larger than they needed to be. Fortunately, the late 80s, early 90s started seeing kind of more of a, I don't want to call it a renaissance in game footprints, but we did start seeing a lot smaller scenarios and a more manageable in an evening or a sitting scenarios and games that were coming out, because people were just getting tired that they just didn't have the time and the space to put up these massive scenarios. I remember, even Panzer Leader. I mean, some of the scenarios in there, I mean, you're looking at counter count of 100, 200 for a platoon scale, a company scale game. Ugh, come on. Now, granted, there are people that enjoy that. More power to them. I'm not one of them. The older I get, the smaller the footprint I like to be. So I basically took kind of one of the scenarios and just mixed up a map board a little bit and said, ask her, just take some guys and throw them in. So let's go over the map board real quick, because it is a little bit different and a little bit unique, because you have your regular hexes, as you can see, you have your regular sized hexes, but you also have hexes that are kind of odd shaped. They're not really hexes, and you've got squares. Well, the game scale is 6 feet per hex. And the game scale is also 2 seconds per turn. There's 5 segments in a turn, so each segment is under a half a second. Yeah, you remember what I was talking about, micro tactics? Yeah, this is kind of what it is. Well, one of the reasons this just doesn't have a basic overlay over it with hexes over it is that they wanted the buildings to remain square, like they looked like buildings. Now, if you go back to I was mentioning this earlier, SPI Sniper, they had the hex lay over it, and then they tried to fit the buildings around the hex grain, and it just looks horrible. I know there's a lot of people out there that like Sniper. I always hated the look of the map because they were trying to force, and so you've got these angular buildings, and they just don't really look like buildings. And the genius of this is they put the hex lay over it, but instead of having it a pure hex overlay, because if you take a look at it, say this hex right here, if you would have followed through with just a regular hex overlay, you'd have had, a hex line from here to here. So you ended up with this tiny, tiny little quarter hex right here that really in 6 feet square or hexes, you really can't get anybody into. It serves no purpose. And conversely, along this entire wall, if you'd have had just the hex grain out, you would have had all these little 8th hexes all over the place that really would have done nobody any good. It's like, well, can you fit a counter in there? No, you really can't fit a counter in there. It'll just make the map confusing. So they just decided to go screw it, and let's just extend out the hexes to fit the building rather than trying to make the building fit the hexes. Brilliant, genius idea. I love it. You can still get the counters in there, and it still serves a purpose. And you see the same thing over here behind the bar. And with these hexes right here, I mean, if they'd have gone a pure hex, you'd have had all, again, over here, along the bar top, you'd had all these tiny little half hexes or quarter hexes or even 8th hexes that really would have just thrown everything off. So I was at first really thrown off by this, but the more and more I've played the game and the more and more I've come to appreciate it, it works. It fits. It works. I really, really like it. And this is the first time I've ever seen a game company do something that wasn't just a simple hex overlay. They actually expanded the hexes out to, make sense. So, you got a guy right here. If it was actually, had this been drawn out as a hex, this line right here, all right, so you could fit someone in there. Is he on the inside? Is he on the outside? It just didn't make any sense. So I'm kind of glad the developers and the designers went ahead with these kind of along the walls, these odd hex sizes. It works. It doesn't take anything away from the game. Doesn't detract from the game at all. So I did want to cover that in the last video, but I forgot about it because I was so excited. All right, so let's take a look at the character sheet. Ow, stupid camera's locked in place. Let's go ahead and take a look at the character sheet here. Now you got a pad of these character sheets with the game, and as anybody who knows who's played any games that had pads of sheets with them, you're going to run out eventually. And back in the day, we really didn't have access to a lot of printers. It's like, well, maybe my dad works at some place that's got a printer, and maybe he could take, so you were going to run out of them real quick. Now, whoever owned this copy originally laminated at least, because really at most you only need a 7. You're never going to have a game that's bigger than 7 players in it. So he went ahead and laminated 7 of these sheets, and the rest of the pad is still in good condition, which is great because I can take these dry erase markers and mark all over them and not worry about marking them up. It's like right here, so for this character, whatever character, he's got his holstered weapon right here. And he's got a Colt 45, and it's uncocked, which means it's on its backside. That is one thing. That's how you know the difference between a cocked and an uncocked. Cocked is with the weapon symbol up, and uncocked is no weapon symbol at all. And it's holstered so you know where it is. You've got your other hand, both hand, gun hands. Obviously, where the gun is that you're holding it. Either you're holding a gun in your gun hand, you're holding a rifle in both hands so you can shoot it, or you can hold a regular gun in both hands, or the other hand. There are a few characters that have got skill where they can dual wield. Not real practical to do so. Then you've got your ammo section down here. So for all your weapons, Colt 45, and then capacity, I'm just using a 6-sided dice because this scenario, I'm not letting anybody have rifles. It's just revolvers. And most revolvers didn't have over 6 shots. 1 or 2 might have. Most of them were 6, 5, and there's a couple guys that, one guy's got a Derringer with a couple shots in it. So just use a 6-sided dice. It's easier to keep it than me than marking off the tick marks. I just count down with the pips on the dice. And I don't know why they gave us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 weapon capacity. I mean, at most you're going to carry, like 2 pistols, a rifle, and a Derringer. And even then, I don't know anybody who carries that. Okay, you got a knife, but you don't need a capacity for a knife. You don't need a gun slot for knife or tomahawk. Why they gave us so many slots, I have no idea. Maybe they were just filling up space. Then, of course, your game turn marker up here. You go up to 40 turns. You got action and your delays. This is the heart of the character sheet because this is where you play all your actions from your cards. And then you've got permanent wounds, which really doesn't mean, it kind of means something in when you're playing, when you've taken a serious wound, gun, hand, other hand, leg, and that has effects when you try to do actions in game. But it also is for when you're playing the campaign, the role-playing systems, and you keep track of wounds from game to game. And of course, endurance and extra endurance. Most characters have 20 endurance points. A few characters have more, 1 or 2 characters have less, but for the most part, everybody's got 20 endurance points. So that's the basic anatomy of the character sheet. Also, you've got, okay, so symbol right here. You'll notice, and I kind of went over this, there are 7 sets of cards that have symbols on them. Triangle, circle, heart, diamond, whatever the 7 of them are. And so you would put that, your symbol would be right there so you can remember what your symbol, of course, you've got your deck of cards right there, so why do you need this? Whatever. I'm just putting the aim markers right here. So you got a place for the character, bonus cards, I'll get into that in a little bit, skills for one-handed, two-handed, brawling, other hand, victory points earned, yada, yada, yada. And the stupid phone gives me pop-up notifications, and I still haven't learned how to use it yet, so cut out there for a second. So yeah, I think I went over one-handed, two-handed, brawling, other hand. And depending on what character you're playing, those skills were differently. Like I said, the game also kind of had a role-playing aspect with it, where you can kind of create a character, but it was basically your origin, your background, and what job you were doing, and that would determine what your different skills were, plus any bonus cards are. Now, because I'm an idiot like this, went to Board Game Geek, and Board Game Geek has got a lot of information, a lot of stuff for this game. You want a copy of the rules? It's on Board Game Geek. You want a copy of the Vassal module? It's on the Vassal website. There's not really any reason stopping anybody from being able to get their hands on this game without having to pay a dime for it. You can do a print and play with this very easily. But anyway, so this is one of the things I went ahead and downloaded, and these are just character cards. So there's 1 character card for each character in the game. And so you've got your endurance right here. So like I said, some characters have 20 endurance, and then like the gambler, he's only got 10 endurance, and there's some of them that are like 25, 30 endurance. A little icon of what the counter is. Kind of matches the counter that you use on the table. And a pithy little comment. And then I appreciate that he's got the card suite in hand, but it really has no effect. It's just, all right, this looks like a poker deck. It's the right size for a poker card, but has no effect on gameplay, so you can ignore that. But the name, the symbol indicator, Y, that's, again, we see that right there, Y. It's the Army faction. There are, what was I saying, 4 or 5 factions. Townsfolk, Westerners, Outlaws, Yankee, or Soldiers. Those are the 4 factions? I think those are the 4 factions. Anyways, any bonus cards? Let's go to the skills right here. It's a pistol, that's the one-handed skill. Rifle, that's the two-handed skill. The fist, that's their punching, and then the offhand. If it's got an X in it, you can't do offhanded. You have to actually have the skill in offhand to be able to do a wield. If you want a 2-fist Revolvers, you got to have that skill. If you don't, you can't. Any bonus cards you have, I'll get to that in a little bit. And any weapons, SD-58, Colt 45, and a Kniffy. So basically all this information is in the book. It's just I thought these were kind of cool to have, so I went ahead and downloaded them and printed them out. Now there are redesigns on the action cards, but I didn't feel like doing the double-sided printout on those. And there actually are some pretty good, the result cards, there are some pretty good redesigns on the result cards as well. But again, I didn't want to, I mean, it cost me $20 to have these stupid things printed out and laminated as it is. If you can get, if you have a local printing shop and you can get in good with the people, that's great. Because I used to have a couple people that used to work up there. Then they come in, they knew my name, they wouldn't charge me rush fees or anything. And so I was like, all right, we'll just do the minimum. It's like, you know, these guys up there, they don't know me. So it's like, well, when do you want it done? I was like, yeah, whenever. Okay, we'll charge you rush for it. All right, whatever. I mean, I'm getting it technically rushed because it's right then and right there. But yeah, if you can get in good with your print shop people, get in good with your print shop people. All right, so that's the anatomy of the character sheet. And one of the other things I got to say about this, not only is the footprint real small, setup time is bombastically quick. I mean, if you're taking more than 10 minutes to set this entire game up, you're doing something wrong. That's all there is to it. It's basically find out what character you're playing, jot down all the notes what your character are, or have the character card for it. Find your character piece, stick them on the map, stick all your weapons on your sheet, grab your deck of cards, grab your bonus card, bam, you're good to go. So, real quick setup time. Not like you're trying to set up case blue from MMP or something like that. All right, so the heart and the soul of the game is the action deck. And what is the action deck? Well, the action deck is a set of 12 cards, and they are the same for each person. Each person has the same set of 12 action cards, and this forms the core of everything that you can do in game. Oftentimes, characters will have some bonus cards. And you can kind of see B4, B2, they're kind of bonus, and they are listed on the character sheet. So, you know, the gambler, he has bonus cards 2 and 4 to go along with his 12 basic cards, which are, you know, the 12 cards here, and then B4 and B2. They don't have symbols on them, so you know that they are bonus cards, whereas all the standard cards has one of the 7 suites on them. Real easy. All right, so let's go ahead, take a look at the card, take a look at a card real quick and kind of go through. So, 1 is the card number, and you can see 6 hand, 5 hand, 7, 3. If it's in parentheses, that means it's the backside version. So you turn this over, 3, and if you also look down at the very bottom, it also tells you what is on the other side. So advance is a backup. Oh, what's on the other side? It's backup. What's on the backup of the what's on the other side of the backup? It's the event. The cool thing is you are limited to, well, I don't know if it's cool, but the mechanic is you're limited to these cards. You can't use cards that you don't have, which means sometimes you're limited. It's like, well, if you want to advance, you're not backing up. You know, if you want to cock, aim, shoot, you're not going to be using that throw card. You're not going to be using that get up, get down card. You know, you are limited. It's not like you can use the spin around card on one side and the run on the other to do your actions. They have to be done, played face up, and this is all you're limited to, plus, you know, whatever your bonus cards are. What did I do with those bonus cards? Oh, they're there. All right, so you have foot actions and you have hand actions. Really, the biggest thing for if you're doing a foot action, it kind of will, depending on the type of injuries you have, if you do a foot or a hand, and if you have a hand or foot injury that could cause you delay cards or delay points, I'll get into that in a little bit. Plus, with any foot actions, if you are using a foot action and it's already been displayed and you're actually in the process of doing it, you're considered moving, and that changes your target state to moving. I'll get to that later. All right, so name, movement, yeah. Then the effects are, so when you play this, when the effects come about, you move either ahead, left, ahead, right, or straight ahead. Well, it's pretty simple. You just look at where your character is and where the arrow's pointing, and it's got the 3 hexes in front of you. I mean, it looks a little bit off just because of the way the wall boundaries are set up, but you still have just 3 hexes in front of you, pretty much any hex you're in any direction. So like the marshal right here, he has 3 hexes. You go here, here, here. The kid can go here, here, here. The gambler here, here, here. The Yankee, okay, he can't go here because there's a wall. Can't go through walls. You can bounce off of a wall, but you don't want to do that because that incurs delay points. But he can move here, here. A couple other things that you should probably note about some of the terrain effects on here. Doors always block line of sight. They're always considered closed, except for the swinging doors. But that's a special. So like this saloon door right here, always considered closed. You can't see through it, but you can move through it with no penalty. Windows can be seen through. You have perfect LOS, but there is a movement penalty for going through them because obviously it's a window. Things like the bar and this dresser here and the stage are considered obstacles, and we'll get into that in a little bit. That comes into when you're moving. But so really, if you want to play an advanced card, you know exactly what you're going to do. Now you have, as I was saying earlier, you have, well, let's continue taking a look at the cards. Plus, okay, so you move ahead, move left, move right. Now, if you're down and you're trying to advance, you also incur 2 delay points. We'll begin with that later. So that's a movement card. So let's take a look at the shooting card. Oh, I should probably also mention the all-important number in the upper right-hand corner. Remember when I said there were 5 segments? I'm just going to call them impulses. 5 impulses in a turn. Yeah, this is how you determine when your actions occur and how many actions you can do a turn. You can only do 5 points worth of actions in a turn. And your actions will then conversely go off at the time marker. So you've got, they don't have a master sheet to record, which impulse you're on. But just think you've got a check mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like our impulse 1. Who has any action 1s that they're doing? Nobody. Okay, we're going to impulse 2. Anybody got any impulse 2 action? Oh, well, I've got an advance card that's an impulse 2, so it fires on impulse 2. Now, conversely, you can play the advance card, and then right after it, well, actually, you would play this first, and then the cock aim shoot, which would be impulse 2, which would technically go off on impulse 4 of the turn, and then if you had another impulse 2 after that, anything above and beyond 5, you lose it. You actually don't carry it over to the next turn. So you only have 5 action points to spend a turn. Anything above and beyond that is just lost and doesn't carry over. This is important when we get to delay, because there are things called delay, and we'll get into that in a little bit. All right, so that's basically that's the action points. So let's take a look at the cock aim shoot card. Name, option, target. Okay, proper hands box, as long as the weapon is in the proper hands box. Option, you can choose one of these. You can cock or uncock your gun. You can place 2 aim points on a target that you can see. You can shoot, and your aim time if you're shooting for a one-handed gun is going to be 2, a two-handed gun is going to be 1. And you can fan fire, but you really don't want to fan fire because you're not going to hit shit. I've shot these single action pistols before. My father is a big in reality, my father's a cosplayer. He's a Western cosplayer. They call it the single action shooting competitions, but he gets dressed up in the cowboy outfits and goes out with historical weapons and does shooting competitions. I grew up on that all my life. I'm a weapons guy. I'm a guns guy. I've tried fan firing pistols before. It don't work real well. It hurts. It is very, very hard to fan. I don't care what they show in the movies. You're not going to hit shit when you're fan firing, especially not at any type of long range. All right, but that's cock aim shoot, and then of course the backside of it is a throw. So if you want to use this card, you're not going to be using a throw. Why would you use throw? Well, I don't know. Maybe you got a knife. Maybe you got a beer bottle. Maybe you got a stick of dynamite. So a shoot card, again, you can see this is just an impulse 1. Options, do nothing, or shoot, aim time, yada, 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 fan fire, yada, yada, yada. Okay, a sprint card. Now, sprint is kind of special. To do a sprint card, you have to have played run this turn and executed the run card right before you do the sprint card. Let's see if we can find the run card. Where's the run card? Where's the run card? I know it's around here someplace. Ah, there it is. All right. So, and if we take a look at the run card, you have to have played advance this turn. So, to have, okay, so to play the sprint card, you had to have played the run card right exactly before it. To have played the run card, you had to have played the advance card somewhere in the turn previous to that. So as you can see right there, if you want to sprint, which will actually get you 3 hexes of movement, because every time you move is 1 hex, it's going to take you 4 action points. But you'll be moving 3 hexes. Now with advance, it's move ahead, move left, move right. Run is ahead, right, ahead, left, straight ahead. And then sprint is move straight ahead. Now you're not turning. There is no turning in that. There is actually a card. And if you'll notice, it's on the back side of sprint. If you want to turn your hex face, you actually have to play the turn card. And since I believe there's only 1 turn card in your hand, you're not going to sprint in a turn and turn because the turn is on the backside of the sprint. So it is physically impossible to play that sprint card. Unless for some reason there's a bonus turn card, and I can't really remember if there is or not. So, those are the anatomies of the cards. Now, what's so cool about the bonus cards? Let me see if I can find some bonus cards. Bonus cards are, well, not only are they extra cards in your hand that you can possibly use, but let's take a look at... All right, so we've got a normal shoot card and we've got a bonus shoot card. Shoot 7... B2 bonus. All right, so really there is no difference other than, you know, what's on the back sides. The options is the same. Do nothing, shoot, aim time is one-handed gun, two-handed gun. I mean, it's all the same, other than the simple fact that this gives you another 1 impulse shoot card in your hand. I think normally you only have 1, so this character would have a bonus one. He'd be able to get 2 shots off. Now let's take a look at the back side for draw and cock. Let's find a drawn cock. Where is a drawn cock? Where's a drawn cock? All right, so here's a normal drawn cock right here. If you notice, it's an impulse cost of 3 to, you name your weapon, the box, and cocking options, move weapon on sheet, on or in hex to box, cock or uncock, leave unchained, fanfire. However, the bonus card, you'll now notice, is an impulse 1. So if you've got this card, you're going to be drawing and cocking your gun faster than most normal other people. This is the little bonus. You're a faster draw because you can get this out on impulse 1, and everybody else has to wait until impulse 3 to get their draw and cock out. So there are benefits to having the bonus cards, and there's a whole bunch of different types of bonus cards. That's the anatomy of the card. So, what does a turn consist of? It consists of each player taking their deck of cards and deciding how they're going to spend their 5 action points. And this is all done blind. You do this, this is all done simultaneously. You do all this hidden. So there is kind of a fog of war in trying to outwit your opponent by spending your 5 action points to try to get your guns out, get the aim points on, and get someone shot and to the point that you shoot them dead. Because that's the whole point of gunslinging. Once everybody has played or has their decks in hand, then everybody reveals their first card. Now, this is very, very, very important for the procedural play of game. When you reveal a card, you have revealed what it is, but sometimes you have the option of where you want to put the aim point, who you're shooting at, whatever. You don't have to declare what the effects of the action is until you've actually displayed the card. So I play a advance card right here. I play this. This will say this is my first card. When I display this, it's an advance. I'm moving. I don't have to say where I'm moving yet, because granted I only have one of 3 options. You don't have to declare what the action is until the effect of the card is. So basically, before impulse 1, when everybody lays down their cards, everybody sees what everybody's first action is going to be, and then you don't know what it's going to be until they actually reveal them. When you reveal the card, you declare what you're doing. Okay, so for advanced, probably a bad example, but say cock, aim, shoot. You show this, okay, you're doing cock, aim, shoot. It's not until the card is played that you choose one of the options. Cock, uncock the gun, place 2 aim points, shoot, or fan fire. So it's kind of cool because you kind of have an idea what's going on around you, but you're not really committed to anything other than what you've committed your cards to. You're not committing specific actions, you're committing general actions, which is what these are. So you go through, you play your action, or you reveal your actions. Okay, you know, whoever's kind of, I don't want to call it GMing, but officiating. Is anybody doing anything on impulse 1? Nobody. Okay, go to impulse 2. Okay, now say you have multiple people who are doing the same thing on the same impulse, which when you've got multiple people and only 5 impulses, you're going to have a lot of people doing the same thing on the same impulse. At the scenario start is the list of the characters and their turn order. So for this one, and like I said, I just kind of drew this out of the book and modified it a little bit. The kid is first, gambler's second, gunslinger, or the marshal's third, and the Yankees fourth. It's just how the scenario is set up. Let's just take a look really quick. So say you've got this scenario right here. You have first character, you have it listed. First character, second character, third character, fourth, fifth. That's basically the turn order. So when multiple people have something going on in the same impulse, you go in turn order. So the kid is kind of going to always be on the short end of the stick, because if everybody's got something that happens on impulse 2, he has to declare and do his first. Then the second person would do theirs, then the third person would do theirs, then the fourth, the fifth, sixth, on down the row. That's how the turn order in the impulse sequence goes. Now there was an optional rule where that you could change who the first player is every turn, but the scenarios are not balanced around it. Usually the better characters, like the kid is actually a really good character. He's got +3 with his pistol, and he has the offhand skill, and he's got 2 bonus 2 cards, which are drawn cocks, which can also be used as fan fire cards. You know, the kid with his bonus cards can get off 4 shots in 1 turn. They're all fan fire, so he's probably not going to hit shit, and he's going to be burning through a lot of ammunition, but you know, he could do it. And basically that's the turn order. That's how you figure out who's doing what on what impulse. Now, very, very important. When your action is done, you cock it to the side or whatnot, and you immediately reveal the card underneath it. And at that point, as soon as you're done with your action and your next card is revealed, then you have to declare what kind of action you're doing next. And for the most part, it's going to be, you know, like placing aim markers or shooting. I already went over, but that's how the timing goes. Whenever a new card is revealed, that's when you declare. No, you don't declare. Okay, no, you don't declare it until the action happens. But everybody can see what you got coming up next. Simple enough. I mean, really, when you get down to it, let's take a look at this real quick. I mean, this is kind of a beefy rule book. I mean, but yeah, 35 pages, but honestly, less than half of it is actual gameplay. 6 pages, and you can 6 pages of basic rules to play the first 2 showdowns. Then there's 1 page of brawling rules to play showdown 3, and then there's, you know, a page and a column of more rules to play scenario 4, and then 2 more pages of rules for terrain and line of sight. So really, at the end of the day, is 11 pages of rules minus, you know, full column. It's not that much to the rules. So that's how action points play out. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, it's like, well, that seems rather formulaic. You kind of got a good idea what's going to happen if you know what the different delay times on each of the cards are. Well, yeah, that's why they have a little thing in the game called delay, which can really screw everything up. Delay. What is delay? Well, let's take a look. I got a bunch of delay markers. Delay markers are anytime your character gets shook up, wounded, shocked, surprised, staggered, what have you, that can end up delaying your actions from the rest of the turn. Well, let's see what that kind of means. As we already kind of saw on the advance card, if you're down, i.e. in the prone position, whenever you play this card to advance, you gain 2 delay points. Well, what does that mean? Well, as soon as the action's over that you get delay from, you put a little delay 2 on your card, or on the next card that you reveal, and you have to add those delay the delay count to the next action. All right, so what does that mean? Let's say this is how we've got, let's say our character is down in the prone position, and these are the 2 cards that we've played for the turn. So we expose this at the very first, so we all know, okay, on impulse 2, I'm going to be advancing. All right, so I advance, but I'm down, so I'll pick up 2 delay points. When the action's over, I reveal my next card. However, since I've accrued 2 delay points, those 2 delay points are now added on to my next action point total. Now, remember when I said there were only 5 impulses in a turn? Well, there are. Anything that goes above those 5 impulses are lost. You don't get to carry it over to the next turn. So, we play the advance card. When we're down, we get 2 delay points. It adds 2 delay points to our next card, which is a cock, aim, shoot, which technically would take it to impulse 6. There is no impulse 6. Impulse 5 is the last. This card would not take effect, and we do not get to carry any of the points that you would think that would be carried over to the next turn onto the next card. It's just anything that's above and beyond 5 is lost. And that's where some of the shock and the surprise and some more of the less, what's the word I'm looking for? Totally lost my train of thought because I said it just a little bit ago. Structure, well, not structured. Anyways, that is what throws in some uncertainty, and you could end up losing a lot of actions that way because delay, at the end of the turn, you bleed off half your delay. How does it work again? Any excess, I think it's any excess delay. Let me check that just to make sure. Shooting, penalties, hand actions, winning, footy actions, delay markers. Loses that turn. Yeah, so at the end of the turn, each player removes half of the delay points from his sheet. The other half remain on the sheet. Delay points represent the effects of shock, so their effects linger from turn to turn while the character recovers. For example, a player gets 5 delay points on turn 1. At the end of turn 1, he removes 3 delay points, half of 5 rounded up, leaving 2. On turn 2, he removes 1, leaving 1. And on the third, the last delay point is removed. And those delay points take place at the beginning, or they're tacked on to the start of your first action. So in this example, in this guy here, since he drew 2 delay points, he would be delayed 2. He wouldn't have been able to move. At the beginning of the next turn, half of those delay points are removed, so he has 1 delay point left, but that's added to whatever is on top of his first action card. So delay points you don't want to get delay points because that really, really hampers your ability to do anything. Unfortunately, when you get shot, usually when you get a lot of delay points. Now, I'm not going to get into brawling. There is brawling. You can fisticuff, you can punch, but I'm not going to get into that. Nobody wants to see that. We want to see people shooting each other. But there are punch cards. Like there's a chop card. And where's a punch card? A belt. You're just belting somebody. No, you're not using your belt. You're hitting somebody. And there's defensive cards that you can do against melee attacks. Duck and as you can see, cancel, jab, swing, chop, block. All that kind of cool stuff. Most of the time, if you're not down, you're going to be accruing delay points by trying to go over objectives or objects. I remember when I was mentioning the bar and the stage, those are obstacles, not objects, obstacles. You do have these little stairs right here, which if you walk up then you don't accrue the penalty. But if you were to go from this space to this space, that's crossing over an obstacle by stepping up on the stage. So that'll get you some delay points. What is it? It's right here on the back. Let's see. Obstacle, 2 delay cards to enter or leave. So what does it mean by drawing delay cards? Well, and usually when you get shot, which will segue us into our next section, the revolt cards. When you get shot, or a lot of times for any type of resolution, there is no dice in this game. It's all draw cards. So if, say, for example, you have an effect where you have to draw 2 delay cards, you draw 2 cards, look at what the delay effect is, and this one is, well, lose aim. Okay, that's not great. And delay here, 2 delay points. Okay. If you get wounded, you draw. If you take 4 wound cards, you draw 4 cards. Read what it is. Hex, that is if you stagger, and tack is for solo play. But that's what all these different ones down here are. So, and they could be, 2 delay points on a delay, 2 delay points, lose aim, 1 delay point. So you never really know exactly how many delay points you're going to get stuck with when you have to draw a delay card or a wound card. So you can't really plot out that far in advance because life doesn't always work the way you want to. So anyways, core of the system, shooting at people. Well, if you'll notice, we had a whole bunch of cock aim shoot cards. And one of the options when you're doing a cock aim shoot is place 2 aim points. Now you've got these aim points that you place on someone you're shooting at. Now you have to declare you have to put the aim markers actually on them. And if you'll notice, they're coded with the suit color. So triangle, these would be his aim marks. You can only aim at one person. You can't aim at more than one person. What do aim markers mean? Well, basically 2 aim points is a hip shot. 4 aim points is kind of the gun's coming up, and 6 aim points or more is if you've got a rifle, you're definitely scoping down the barrel, or with your pistol, you're lining up the shot really good. The more aim points you have will determine how well you hit. Of course, you have to spend multiple actions sometimes to get multiple aim points, because if you saw that card, the cock aim shoot, place 2 aim points. Well, if you want to get up to 6 or 8 aim points, you're going to have to play that card 3 or 4 times. Now, there is kind of a little extra added benefit whenever you actually play a shoot card with a one-handed gun. A shoot card, focus, will automatically give you 2 aim points. So you take those 2 aim points from using this shoot card, plus any aim points that you've accrued on the target you're shooting at, plus whatever your relative skill is. So the gambler, he's got +2 with one-handed gun, so he's going to get +2 aim points every time he shoots at someone. So in this case, the gambler, if he were to just take, just a straight up cock aim shoot without aiming at anybody, he would get the 2 points, 2 aim time from shooting the gun, and then get another 2 points from his pistol. That'd give him four aim points, which isn't bad. Well, when you shoot at someone, how do you look that up? Again, you pull a result card, and it's real easy. You take a look at your aim time. Focus. You take a look at your aim time, your range, And that'll tell you if you hit or if you miss. And if you hit, what the effect is. Really simple. So on this card, if I were to draw this card, if I had an aim time of 2 or 3 and was at range 0 to 1, that'd be a bullseye. It means you can hit any target you want. Sometimes you want to hit them in the arms. Sometimes you want to hit them in the legs. Sometimes you want to blast them right through the heart. Well, that's what a bullseye is. If you had 4 to 8 aim time at range 0, 1, it'd be a bullseye. If you're range 2 to 3, it'd be a crit. If you'd have 9 aim points, bullseye, crit at the different ranges. Now, target status. Sometimes this shows up. If the target you're shooting at is down, all crits become misses. Oh, that's not good. So maybe sometimes it's good to be down. And also, you will occasionally see, and this is why sometimes it's a good idea to be move, is that if you're under the effects of a move card, if you've played advanced, sidestep, whatever, the different foot action cards that are moves, vitals become misses, bullseyes become vitals. So that's not too bad. What other type of effects that you can be out there? Well, let's take one. If you're running, if the target is running, crit becomes miss, bullseye becomes crit. Now, if you look, most of these cards and there's malfunction cards, we're not going to get into that. You really kind of got to be right on top of them. Range 0, if you've got less than 4 aim points, if you're not right on top of them, you're not going to hit them. I mean, this one's not too bad. You get 1 or 2 aim points at a range 0, but look at all these. I mean, if you're 1 to 2 aim points, unless you are in the same hex, most of the time, you're not hitting. Occasionally you will. So aim points are very important. That's how you generate how you're going to hit. And again, cross-reference it with this card. Now, what do all the different things mean? All the different, body effects, bullseye, side, gun, vital. Well, what does that mean? You just look at the results table. You cross-reference the weapon you're using with whatever effect you got. So say you're using a Colt 45. Where's a Colt 45? Colt 45, and you get a body hit. Well, you just cross-reference Colt 45 with a body. It would be a stun 4 Sagger Series 2. So, okay, what does a stun 4 mean? Well, stun 4 is draw N wound cards, so he would draw 4 wound cards, lose his aim. And then he would stagger, which is a movement thing, which you draw randomly where you stagger around to. If upright, draw a direction card and move, draw a direction card and turn, and then drop. And then Serious 2 is permanent, draw N fatigue cards at the start of each turn. So if you take a serious wound, you're going to be drawing damage every turn. At the end of showdown, draw a result card, yada, yada, yada. So even if you get shot once, especially someplace vital, you're going to be drawing lots of cards. And as we saw, when that effect, Colt 45 in the body, draw 4 wound cards. All right, well, let's draw 4 wound cards. Let's see what we get. First wound, 0 delay points. Okay. Wound, 1 delay point, and 0 delay points. Okay, so he actually got off pretty light. That would be 2 delay points. And I think wound is also... wound is... Oh, so it was stun 4. It wasn't wound 4. It was stun 4. But stun 4 is draw N wound cards and lose aim. So I would have lost whoever I shot at with those 4 wounds. I actually got off really good because he would have only picked up 2 wound points or 2 delay points in addition to the stagger and the serious. So, but sometimes... Okay, so 0 delay points, 2 delay points, 2 delay points, 0 delay, drop. Sometimes it'll make you automatically drop, delay point, delay point, delay point, 2 delays, drop, delay, drop, 6 delay points. You don't want to get hit with that one. 2 delay, 3 delay, then, those are all the different wounds, and that's how you figure out how badly wounded you end up getting. But most of those, as you can see, 2 delay isn't that bad out of 4 wound cards, but, you saw there was a 6 delay in there. There were 2 delays in there. There were 4 delays. You could lose your aim. You could end up dropping to the ground. It's quick. It's brutal. Now, Now, you may be thinking as you're looking through these cards, like, well, Devin, these ranges are absolute crap. 4 to 7. I mean, what happens if you have a rifle? I mean, 1 to 4. Some of the cards, 2 to 5. I mean, 3 to 6, 1 to 2. I mean, what good of the rifle if you only have like a maximum range of 3? Well, rifles are a special case. Rifles are really cool is that they get bonus, quote unquote, bonus ranges. Depending if you have at least 4 aim points on them. So if you're using a rifle, you're using a Henry's or Winchester or 50 caliber muzzle loader, what have you. If you have at least 4 aim points on the target, you get a bonus to your range. Depending on the rifle, it's anywhere from 2 to 4. But it's basically you divide your actual range by the bonus rifle range to come up with what range you are. So if you've got a rifle with a bonus 2, you round down. So if you've got 4 aim points with a rifle that's a bonus 2, hexes 1, 2, and 3 will actually only be just 1 range of hex. Because you divide the true range divide the true range by the rifle bonus. In this case, we're using a rifle bonus 2. Now, if you're using a rifle with a bonus 4, you could go out to 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 hexes or 5 hexes. No, 6 hexes. 6 hexes, and that'll 6 hexes away, and it'll still count as range 1 to you. So rifles, yes, can reach out a really, really long distance. So, but usually in little fights like this is why I don't have this scenario. Nobody's got rifles in this one. Everybody's just got pistols. But rifles give you bonuses, so it's not as hard to hit with rifles as a first glance at the result cards would look. Shotguns are pretty cool because you got 2 types of shotguns. You got 2 different types of patterns. You've either got the B5 pattern or the B7 pattern. The B7 pattern is if you fire, it'll affect 2 hex rows worth and hit everything in it. B7 will catch everything out to like 7 hexes. So shotguns are kind of cool. There is misfires. You draw a misfire card depending on, and then you draw a misfire card. Let's see if we can find it. There's not many malfunction cards. Then you look at the type of ammunition, store-bought, hand load, cap and ball. And if there is an effect, like store-bought is no effect, all right, fine. If it's a hand load or a cap and ball that you're using, and these are all stats in the book, it says misfire, you draw the card again. And if for some reason you get a second card draw on the malfunction, then you have to go with what that second draw is. So it doesn't happen a lot because I think out of the 120 some odd result cards, I think there are 8, maybe 10 malfunction cards, and getting 2 back-to-back slim could happen, but not likely. You'll probably see malfunctions here and then, and cap and ball tend to malfunction more than store-bought or hand loads. That's just the nature of the beast from back then. So yeah, that is basically a look at the anatomy of how Gunslinger is played. So at least when I do sit down and I start recording, I don't have to go through all that because I've gone through all of it. Like I said, it's a very unique system. It uses mechanics that are normally found in like a role-playing system. So I wanted to go over them so I could just get to the gameplay and kind of bip right through real quick without having to spend the last 45 minutes explaining how the mechanics of the game work. Now, obviously, just because I'm OCD like that, I am going to explain some how we go through, how the mechanics work as I go through, but at least I won't have to spend as much time going over the mechanics when I'm actually playing. So yeah, this is going to be a 4-way free-for-all. I was going to put all 4 of them in there, and they said, no, let's go ahead and stick some guy out. So we're going to have a chance to see how movement kind of works. I've got ideas in my mind how I initially want the flow of the game to go, so we see how different mechanics of the game work. Because hey, that's my thing. I like trying to show how mechanics work in the game, so you can have a fuller understanding if this is something you want to pursue. And like I said, go to Board Game Geek. They've got the map boards in PDF form. They've got the rulebook. Just download them, put them on a flash drive, and take them up to your local friendly print shop and print them out. if you really want to play it. And like I said, this game is still played at conventions. I mean, it makes a real good miniature system. I mean, it really does make a good miniature system. Make each hex, I don't know, 2 inches or 4 inches or whatever scale you're using. I think at 28 millimeter with standard, I think each hex would be 2 inches. So, you're at 8 inches away. It's 4 hexes, what have you. But yeah, that's it. That's the look at Gunslinger. Now, I don't know if I'm going to record until later this week. I've got a birthday present coming in. My roommate got me a new camera for my birthday. So we may be holding off any recording until I get that new camera, which isn't going to be until Wednesday, I think. Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. And another kind of, well, I don't want to call it that. Well, for me, it's a huge thing, but for everybody else, it may not be that big. But next week, we're gonna be seeing a little something new at the Grognard's Corner. I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to toot my horn too much, because if you haven't figured out yet, I am kind of a self-deprecating individual, so I don't want to brag too much. But when we get to that, we'll record that, and we'll see what happens when we get to it. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms in the comment section. I'll see everybody next time. See ya!